Hey guys, welcome to the channel today. So, I was trying to work this out. I haven't actually written a script for this because I was trying to work out how to frame this exactly. But I want to talk about GAC a little bit, and in particular, like some strategy, a teeny bit of strategy, because I get, I've done a lot of videos about like, how do you counter such as, Bo-Katan beats Ahsoka, GL Ahsoka, or I haven't done these videos, but like Grand Inquisitor, Reaver beats Bale and Skull, or like, whatever it is the counter, right? But a bit of it comes down, I feel like, to actually how you set yourself up and how you do your strategy. And more or less, once you get towards the top end, so full disclosure, I'm 11.5 or 11.6, I think it is, million GP, something like that. And I have every character, give or take, except for Ahsoka. But I don't have, I don't have Enoch and those guys 7-star yet. I'm working on them, trying to get Ahsoka at the minute. I don't have the Dark Side clones past 4-star even, right? Anything like that. So it's like, I don't particularly spend money in the game, right? So I have spent money before in the past, but, things like the Cup bundle, right? How can you not, right? That kind of thing, right? I don't really do it very often. But I do pretty well in Grand Arena, and I got, like I said, 11 plus money GP. So, in general, just when I come to strategy, right, this is 3v3, I think. Yeah, it's 3v3. I stick mostly Galactic Legends on the defense. Mostly. Because honestly, I can't see it because my beautiful face, is in the way. And we can jabber at the bottom there. But mostly, I don't need them, frankly. And it's about understanding your counters and knowing how you do these things. However, characters aside, the more important bit, the bit I kind of want to talk about more about ships, right? Because ships is vastly more important in Grand Arena, especially the top end. If you watch anyone stream, right? Anyone who's big, like Arnold's a great guy, right? He's really interesting, really exciting to watch, all that kind of thing. He's, 13 million GP or something like that, and he's in Kyber 1 near the top end. He's been top of the whole ranking before, right? Even in his matches, like the one I saw a little bit of this past week on Monday, I guess it would be, his opponent couldn't beat the Executor with the Punishing one. And I probably should change this actually, because I think I prefer a different side. I think I prefer that way around, personally. I didn't realize I didn't change that, but either way, it doesn't make a big difference. They're both kind of painful, right? Yeah, we don't want to set the size randomly on defense, that's for sure. There we go. Okay. But ships is really where it comes down to, even at the crunch at the top end, because there are multiple counters for most teams. Now, there are a couple of teams that are not, right? So, like, Lord Vader with Darkside Clone Troopers, there's not a counter for that. Leia, there's not a lot of counters for Leia. There are counters, but not a lot. Same with Rey, Ben Solo, Ezra. There's not a lot of counters. There are some, but like it's not like Jedi Master Kenobi now, where there's like 10 of them or something, or even Jabba the Hutt to an extent, right? Leia and Rey, Ben, Ezra, and Darth Vader with Darkside clones. There's not a lot you can do with those, except you have to use very specific things. Just for reference, if they don't have the Datacron, you can use Darth Bane against Lord Vader. That still works. That's about the only thing that works really reliable. Malakos Starkiller does work, but I find Bane works better against the non-Datacron version, to be super clear. Rey, Ben, Ezra, you can probably use SLKR. That's probably the simplest way to do it. But you can also do Starkiller Malakos. I've done both. They both work. I find Starkiller to be less reliable because if they put Exile on the wrong person, that team gets really screwed over by Ezra. And Leia, Leia, it depends if you use 3 or 5 person, because for Leia, I've done Grand Inquisitor Reaver. It's not ideal. I've done that before. You can use Kenobi if you want to. You can use a mirror match. These are all not ideal ones, right? You can use Malakos Starkiller. It doesn't work as well, to be honest. Again, Kylo Ren works fine with Darkside Rey. So there are counters, but the problem is they're all kind of overlapping. Anyway, I'm getting off the point, massively off the point. Yep, so that's not right. Yes. So at the top end, you have to set 3 defensive ships, and you have three attacking fleets. 3 defensive fleets you have to beat, right? And realistically, there are 3 meta fleets right in the game. We just go across to mine. And you can see the efficiency of my ships, because I'm not perfect by any stretch of imagination. So these are all the fleets in the game, right? And the Leviathan, the Executive, and the Profanity, see mine's only 6-star. They are what you would call the meta fleets, right? They're the best 3 in the game. They're the ones you can use very easily in arena to hold your place at least a little bit, not perfectly. That's going to go into a second, but they do hold your defense kind of well. Then you got, like Malevolence, Negotiator with Marauder, Executrix with Scythe, Endurance with Marauder. They're probably like the next level. Then Chimera is probably next, Finalizer, Radis. Yeah, a nice bit below. So, in general, because of the paucity, if you will, of ships, there just aren't many fleets you can attack with. If you set 3 for defense, then even at the best one in the world, you have 8 left, right? And that's not ideal, So you could, let's say, I got this kind of, no, it's, you do have 8 left, yeah. No, I can count, don't worry. About. And frankly, they don't work properly either way, because, for example, the Profanity, you take the Rebels, right? And we just got the Rebels for a second. It's a very good example of this, right? You can take out the Y-Wing, Millennium Falcon, Outrider, and then if you're being really optimistic, you use Phantom and Ghost, I guess, and get rid of the rest. But that means for the home one, you're going to have X-Wing, Raven's Claw, U-Wing, which is not it's okay. It's like B-, right? Very much B-. So you don't really have 8 fleets. If you use your Empire ships for the Executrix, you don't really have Empire ships for the Chimera. If you use the Negotiator as the Galactic Republic, you kind of have a very average at best endurance, if not below average endurance fleet to left over, right? So you kind of more have like 5, 6, 5, I would guess, fleets, right? As attacking ones, maybe at best, if you're really, really, really optimistic and you're very, organized with your ships and so on. So most people have at least 2 of these ships at the top end of the game, right? They have the Executor, because that's a long time ship. Many people have it already. The Punishing One was quite easy to get when it wasn't the ship chasing. Even a 4-star Punishing One does a lot of damage. You needed a 7-star, if I'm rightly, Dengar anyway for the Executor. So having the 4-star ship actually kind of works out quite nicely for you, even though obviously it's better when you get 7-star. And then many people at the top end have at least the Leviathan or the Profanity, but often both. Okay. How would you set it up, right? So you can see mine before that. I had the Punishing One Executor and the Leviathan for defense. And really, most people I fight against do one of 3 things, right? A, they put none of the fleets on defense, so they go full attack. They get Profanity, Executor, and Leviathan to attack with. They stick the Radis, the Negotiator, and the Malevolence, or maybe the Chimera on defense. Chimera is not as good as Executrix, so I prefer when people put Chimera personally, but whatever. And they leave the 3 meta ships to attack with. Okay, that's one way of doing it. And if that's the case, you're going to clear their ships no problem at all, almost, and they're going to clear your defense probably because they got the 3 best ships, right? So unless they do something really stupid, the ship's going to come whatever. But it does mean that their ships are much worse, right? That it's much easier to clear those out. The second thing, which is, to be honest, the thing I see more often, is they put 2 of these fleets on. So Executor and Leviathan, or Executor and Profanity. It's usually Executor Leviathan. Usually, I'm going to go into why in a second. But there have been some people who are kind of crazy who put Profanity and so on. Profanity personally is a much more attacking fleet to me. It's not very good defensively, personally. But, be that as may. Profanity does make very sensible choices in defense in terms of the AI. That's part of the reason why. And then you got them real defensive turtle type people who put all 3 on. So Profanity, Executor, Leviathan, all 3. So if you're going to win Grand Arenas, if you want to do well, if you want to get up to Hyper League, that kind of thing, obviously you need to know your counters for characters. You need to know who beats who. You need to know what to beat which galactic legend with, and all that kind of jazz. Obviously, right? But more importantly, is you need a plan for ships both to defend with and attack with. So your average opponent, and Hyper League, whatever, is going to have 1 or 2 of these, if not 3 of these. So I said 2 on defense personally. Why? Firstly, Profanity is stupid on defense. It makes stupid choices. You're going to be like, oh, why does it make stupid choices? Well, if you look actually in the kit, and it's really important to understand this, I mean, just make sure I click the right ability. Otherwise, this whole thing doesn't make any sense. Let me check I've got the right ability. What was it, the other one? There you go. into unique. Is it unique? I don't know. The special ability based on riders. I don't know if that's a unique or special. I guess it's unique because it doesn't really affect the ship itself. Anyway, I say we fight. But all down here, allies and enemies are immune to turn meter manipulation. Okay, doesn't sound like much. But the problem is, if the computer uses the profanity, it will almost certainly have got the Millennium Falcon with it, right? Boop, 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 boop. There's my. Oh no, wrong one. There's so many Millennium Falcons in this game. I've lost the right one. You know, I'm just gonna check Rebels. That's pretty cool. I've probably gone past it twice, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, how are you so blind?" There it is. Problem is, the AI doesn't know how to play this, right? Because isn't that one? Oh, which ability is it? That one, isn't it? When it does this one here, you do the little wiggle move like that. You heal back and all that kind of thing. Additionally, it gains 35% turn meter for each active rebel enemy and empire rebel ally and empire enemy. Problem is, that ability is worthless in the Profanity Fleet. That part of it, at least. You can still heal. That's fine. You can still heal. You get the maneuvers. You still get the evasion. You can't be counterattacked. And that kind of thing. So that's still cool. Don't get me wrong. But at the start of a Profanity fight, it's a race to get to 100% right. The computer throws away one turn straight away by doing this because it doesn't get the bonus turn. So it doesn't attack you and it doesn't get a bonus turn. So it straight away puts itself back at the 10 meter queue. So on defense, the AI is kind of stupid, right? It does not, so I don't have the full level 8 basic, which gives you the bonus turn, and this is really important. Bonus turn is different to turn meter, so you can't get turn manipulations, what the Huntsman and Falcon does. You can't get the bonus turn from this, so kind of stupid on defense because it doesn't understand how to play its own ship very well, which makes sense because CG don't want you to be super good on defense, really. They don't want you to be too good because they don't want to be able to just turtle everybody, right? That's not what they want. So anyway, you need to have counters for these things. You need to understand how to do this. And it really breaks down to how you counter these 3 ships here, right? And I've done videos on a few of these. I've done every single counter, right? Known to man or woman. But the easiest way to beat the Leviathan is either A, to use the Leviathan itself, which you have to do using the scimitar, basically, because the scimitar, when you do its reinforcement ability, it gives all allies 15 speed, doubled, persist, so 30, because it's assisting, and persist through defeat, and that's a really important clause. So even if you're slower, because he's got a better Leviathan than you do, you get this, you get 30 speed for ships, you send them become a lot faster, you then win the 10 meter battle, and to be honest, because you're taking control of the ships, you should be able to then outrun it using Leviathan in a mirror match. The other way to beat the Leviathan is to use the insurance, that is to say, you use the endurance, the marauder. Now you can get away with a lower star one. A 7-star obviously works better, always away, right? Because it's got more health and so on. But it's really about you're going to get the right abilities. This one here I have from already, which first you can stealth your guy. So that's great. So you can stealth Anakin specifically, right? Plus health protection, healing for some of the clones, whatever. That's fun. And then also, it's the built-in abilities about, I can't remember which one these are, right? Built-in abilities, heals and protection. Built-in abilities when it comes to Valor, which comes from almost every bit of this ship, right? So you get stack in defense when you lose Valor, it's doubled. If something has Valor, critical chance up. If it has Valor, critical chance up. If scores everything, all the allies with Valor, everyone else, everything is to do with if Marauder has Valor, target lock can't be resisted, and random ally gets Valor. So all these things together buff it up. And then when you work it with the endurance, again, I'm going to work out, I think it's this one here. Get all, I think you get Valor at the start. When Valor is dispelled, get turn meter. It's all built in, right, to the kits of everything, right? So basically the endurance can easily, not easily, can straightforwardly take out the Leviathan. There's not really another good ship to defeat the Leviathan. I know why that's a favorite right now. Because, it's because I'm doing Legend of Ahsoka. There you go. Anyway, there's not really another good way to do it. Now, normally when I'm fighting against the Leviathan, if I get the right fleet, I use a Marauder, I use Anakin, and I want to say I use 5s because 5s, and it's very important, don't use AoE. I've got a video about it, but don't use AoE as your first move. So you do his AoE. What am I saying? Do his, but after you've done that, use his basic, because his basic dispels buffs, and you can get round Sith Bomber, is it B-27 bombers taunt by using his basic when they've got target lock, which you got from this bit here. So that kind of is one you just need to know, but it works pretty well. The scythe doesn't work anymore. They kind of nerfed that out of existence, unfortunately, which means then you can try and take on the Executor. So the Executor, you can take out with the Endurance too. It's about a 70-ish% win rate, whether you've got the Houndstooth or whether you've got the triple attack. It doesn't really matter. It's about 70-ish%. Again, there's a teeny bit of luck associated with if they can just like focus down and kill, for example, Anakin, right? Because if you lose Anakin, it's not impossible, but you do lose a lot of damage, right? The other way being the Executive, of course, is to use Tarkin. So Tarkin actually works surprisingly well since they fixed the size. Now, let me see if there's some bits written everywhere. So the first thing is, every time allies get destroyed, you get 10 meter. So how the whole thing works, basically, very simply, if I can find the size, I'll just do it like this way around, it's way easier. There you go. And so when the size starts up a fleet with the Executrix, and provided you have got TIE Fighter friends as well, you then get different stacks and so on. You see, there you go. If the thing is that you summon 2 crewless TIE Fighters and one ally TIE Fighter has foresight, they're also marked. First time ally TIE Fighter defeats a ship, all allies get 100% damage. Okay. So basically, if you're fighting against the Executor, you use size, you use Darth Vader, you use this TIE Fighter pilot, get the 2 friends on the ends, and then this is really important. One of the TIE Fighters should have, one of the 3 TIE Fighters should have foresight, which means they should get marked, and if they get marked, you focus down on them, and provided the computer kills one of your TIE Fighters in turn 1, which is not 100%, which is why it's at like a 75% counter. Provided you do that, you'll get a bunch of 10 meter from the kills. You bring out TIE Defender because you have the TIE Intercept from the bench, so the TIE Defender automatically can be reinforced straight away. It comes in with it gives foresight back out there. It comes in with stacks of formation. Formation, as you probably know, it tells you somewhere around here what formation does. Yeah. You know, I'd love it if they wrote these things down clearly so everything could be seen everywhere. You know, it tells you somewhere. Where is it? I'm pretty sure it's 10% offense. For every stack of formation, but whatever. It's written somewhere. I don't know where it is. That's probably it's written on the side. Oh, I don't know. Anyway. You reinforce with the TIE Defender, and it's actually a very straightforward battle at that point because TIE Defender has an irresistible stun, very easy to take out the punishing one. It's a little hard if you've got the Houndstooth because, of course, it's taunting probably by the time you bring in reinforcement. So you either need to put buff immunity on it, it's not easy. You need to try and cleanse off any Purge, because if you cleanse Purge, then when the side does his middle ability, it will remove the taunts. If you have Purge, it means taunts are irremovable. I suppose very technically not irresistible. And you just whittle them down using the Executrix. It's quite okay. Something you had to practice. So, all that, a lot of random talking. But basically, really, for ship battles and for GAC, you've got to really work on your ships, right? If you want to do well in GAC, you've got to focus on this. And you got to have a plan for it. You can almost certainly, when you get to the higher leagues, have at least 2 of these meta ships on defense. That's almost certainly what people are going to do, unless they're very, very scared of ships, which is fine. Some people are there, but if they are, that's fine. It makes it easier for you to attack with, right? You have to have a way to fight the Leviathan. You have to fight away the Executor. It's a bit like when you're doing characters, right, to a lesser extent, because as you saw before, I use 5 of my AGLs on defense because, frankly, I don't need them to attack with because I use off GL counters to do most of the work. And that's the best way to play the GAC, right, is tactically, because give them the hardest matches. If you are good at finding the Leviathan, which I'm pretty good at finding the Leviathan, using Mace Windu and the Galactic Republic, then stick to that. Now, a couple of important details. Firstly, if you fail to beat the Leviathan using the Endurance, but you kill one or two, which is likely, like, you're probably going to kill a couple, but it's not going to be a complete fail, but you're going to kill a couple. The easiest way to clean up the Leviathan afterwards, and this is very important, is actually to finalize it. It actually works really, really, really well. Very easy way to clean that up. Okay. The Executor, on the other hand, if you attack using the side and you kill a couple of them, the easy way to get rid of that guy is to use the Malevolence. Works surprisingly well once you get a couple of them down. I do the punishing one in the hands too, but probably not because you're not very lucky. But if you get a couple of them down, especially the punishing one, Malevolence would actually clean that up pretty okay. Touch wood, right? Profundity, if you're doing a mirror match, that should be pretty trivial. You can use some other counters for it. I wouldn't recommend many other counters for Profundity personally because you don't need them. Just mirror match it and be done with it. It's quite straightforward if you do it on defense. But here, I think you should be leaving the line attack anyway. But yeah, there you go. So just to me, if you're going to start doing better Grand Arena, the best advice I can give anybody is to work on your ships and not necessarily make your ships better, but just work out what counters work for what things for your ships, right? And work out what it is you've got to do to take the right things out. Leviathan, Endurance, Executor, Tarkin. Either needed for Tarkin, Marauders needed for Endurance. These things work quite well. 70+% at least. Better if you practice it. Better if you understand the rule. Like, you know what? I said this to Agnes the other day. I actually have it written down, right? It's in shorthand. But the moves I have to use to beat the punishing one using the Endurance, because it's not a counter I do very often, but I did it the other day. I have it written down because I never remember the best way to do it when I actually have to do it. So just take a minute, because the crystals are worth it, right? We're talking about like the difference between winning 2 out of 3 matches or winning 1 out of 3 matches. And that 1,000 crystals, at least at Kaiba League. But even in the middle, there's like 500 plus crystals, right? When you add in both the win and the extra positions you get in the table, this will be worth it, right? Spending the extra 5 minutes will be absolutely 100% worth it. The other thing I recommend is actually practicing Ship Arena. I do it occasionally, not as often as I should, but I do occasionally do it. Honestly, you can climb up for ship crystals really easily, but in between the 24 hours, actually just practice doing a couple of matches. You know, do the thing. It sucks, but if you want to get good at something, my father would tell me, you just got to do it a bunch of times and practice. But yeah, so ships, really important. Best way to get it better in Grand Arena. Best way to get more crystals in Grand Arena. Be better at ships, both in defense and in attack. Set your best ones to defend with, and attack with clever counters and the right off-meta stuff, and you'll do really, really well. I've got videos already, both for how the Leviathan is being by the Endurance, the Profundity in a mirror match, and the Executor by the Scythe. I can probably do one of the Endurance versus the Executor, just, you know, for completeness. But they are pretty reliable and often very straightforward. But until next time, guys, have a safe one, and catch you all